A boxer dies and changes the sport forever. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is November 13th, 2023. It is the 317th day of the year. You got 48 days left. It is your 46th Monday in your 46th week and the 52nd day of fall. There are 38 days left until winter. Today is National Odd Socks Day. While it used to be embarrassing to be caught wearing two different socks that don't match, now it's become commonplace and even a fun fashion trend. In fact, many companies are now selling socks in packages where the pairs don't match. It's kind of this thing, it's weird. All right, let's see what else happened on November 13th. 1922, the United States Supreme Court upholds mandatory vaccinations for public school students in Zuck v. King. 1927, the Holland Tunnel opens to traffic as the first Hudson River vehicle tunnel linking New Jersey and New York City. I went through that when I was a kid, and I didn't know how long it was. And you know the old thing about hold your breath while you go under a tunnel? My dad told us to hold our breath. It's like, I don't know, if you're not in traffic, it's like a 4-minute drive, so I didn't make it. 1982, Ray Mancini defeats Duk Koo Kim in a boxing match held in Las Vegas. Kim's subsequent death on November 17th led to significant changes in the sport. Now, this fight was... it went on too long, and by today's standards, it went on way too long. I've seen the video since then. I actually saw it when it happened, not realizing, how devastating this would be. But they took this guy out on a stretcher, and he passed away days later. It was horrible. Boom Boom Mancini, Ray Mancini, that was his fighting name, he was devastated by this. I don't think he ever recovered. I don't know him personally, but I've seen multiple interviews with him, and he just seems like a genuinely nice guy in a very rough sport. And I truly think this just destroyed him. So a lot of people over the years have said that this guy shouldn't have been fighting Ray Mancini. Ray Mancini was too good. No, Kim was a great boxer too. And these two stood in the middle of the ring, and it's almost like they're fighting in a phone booth, as the old saying goes. They just stood there and traded punches. The end of the fight came at the beginning of the 14th round. Ray Mancini hit Kim with a sharp left hook, followed by a right cross to the head, which knocked Kim down. He hit his head hard on the ring. The referee saw he wasn't getting up and he wasn't in any shape to continue. He stopped the fight right there. Ray Mancini wins by a technical knockout. While Ray Mancini's celebrating, they're taking Kim out in a stretcher. He lost consciousness in the ring. He never regained consciousness. He died 4 days later. Sadly, this wasn't the only deaths, I guess you could say, that was related to this fight. Duk Koo Kim's mother never recovered from the loss of her son. She took her own life 4 months later. And nearly a year later, still tormented by the fight, Richard Green, the referee for the fight, took his own life as well. After Kim's death, a lot of different rules and policies were taken up by the various boxing promotions, including shortening championship fights to 12 rounds. And lesser fights were dropped down to 10 and 8. And the referees and the doctors had more of an ability and more freedom to call a fight and just say it's over. Just a really sad story. 2001, in the first such act since World War II, U.S. President George W. Bush signs an executive order allowing military tribunals against foreigners suspected of connections to terrorist acts or planned acts on the United States. And this is how a lot of people ended up in Guantanamo Bay. 2002, off the coast of Spain, a storm bursts a tank of the oil tanker MV Prestige. Now, this was not allowed to dock. I guess they had too many ships there. For some reason, this one wasn't allowed to dock. They wanted to dock. Well, this oil tank burst, spilling 63,000 metric tons of heavy oil, more than the Exxon Valdez oil spill. The ship sinks 3 days later. 2013, Ford World Trade Center officially opens. Movies released on November 13th. 1998, Meet Joe Black. This is a pretty good movie. It's a little slow, I would say. The acting is outstanding. It stars Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, Jeffrey Tambor, who was great in there, a guy named Jake Webb, who always plays a pretty sleazy dude. He played a good part in this. Marcia Gay Harden was in there, and one of the most beautiful women to ever be filmed, Claire Forlani. She plays Brad Pitt's love interest. It's a great movie. He actually plays Death. Yes, like the mythical guy that shows up and takes you when it's your time to go, but he decides to go on a holiday and take a break. When he takes this holiday, he decides to take the form of a young man, Brad Pitt. While on vacation, he asks this mogul, who is Anthony Hopkins, to teach him about Earth and about life and what it's like. Anthony Hopkins is allowed to stay alive till he gets to this thing while death takes a holiday. During the time, he falls in love with the guy's daughter. Great movie. The movie is loosely based on the 1934 film Death Takes a Holiday. It marked the second time Brad Pitt starred opposite Anthony Hopkins after being in 1994's Legend of the Fall. Born on November 13th, 1967, Jimmy Kimmel, popular late-night TV talk show host with roots in radio and comedy. He began his Jimmy Kimmel Live show on ABC in 2003. He hosted the Emmy Awards in 2012 and then again in 2016, and the Academy Awards in 2017 and 2018. I grew up in Los Angeles. They have this, well, it used to be a great radio station. Now it kind of sucks, my understanding. But KROQ, it's like the alternative. It's the best station in LA for a lot of years. But he was on there for the longest time, part of their morning show, and he was hysterical. That radio station, so they get this new management, and this new company comes in to own it, and they decide they're going to make some changes. And the changes basically collapsed the radio station. All the people that decided we're going to make those changes and shake things up, they all got fired. Where he got his television start, I guess you could say, was The Man Show on Comedy Central. That was a great show. Little edgy, but it was a great show. I love that show. He was on there with Adam Carolla. They were on KROQ together. His wife was on a plane, right? And she's with some other people, and there was something wrong with the plane. They were going to have an emergency landing. So she freaks out and texts him and says, there's something wrong with the plane. We're going to land in such and such. If anything happens, I love you and I'm sorry. He texts back, well, should I start a Tinder account or should I just put it on hold till I know what's what? Sometimes it sucks to be married to a comedian. Died on November 13th. 2016, Leon Russell, singer and musician who sang Tightrope and The Masquerade, and who was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2011. He collaborated with many different artists, including Elton John. He started playing music as a professional in nightclubs at the age of 14. His first group was called the Starlighters. He is considered a pioneer of the Tulsa sound. You know, it's really interesting. There are certain cities and that music comes out of, and it has a sound to it. What that is all the people playing the different clubs and the different shows, they kind of start picking up the same tune. They hear each other, they see each other, and they start, kind of getting the same thing. They take inspiration from each other. It's how grunge got started in Seattle. If you go all the way back to, these are the music styles I know, but you go back to punk rock. Punk rock was very different if you were in New York, London, or Los Angeles. Los Angeles had a very interesting punk scene back in the 80s. Leon Russell died in his sleep at his Mount Juliet home on November 13th, 2016 at the age of 74. He had gone through surgery in July of 2016 for a heart condition after he suffered a heart attack. He was recovering from heart surgery when he passed away in his sleep. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.